The massive space station hung in the darkness between stars like a crystal palace made of metal and light. Concordia Prime was the largest structure ever built by alien hands. Inside its gleaming halls, 12 different species ruled over 3 arms of the galaxy. Today, they were very angry. Ambassador Zex Thul stood at the center of the great chamber. His body was made of living crystal that sparkled when he spoke. Around him sat the other council members. Some looked like giant insects, others were pools of thinking liquid. A few had tentacles instead of arms. But they all shared one thing in common. They all hated humans. "The creatures from Sol 3 have gone too far," Zex Thul said. His voice rang like bells. "In the past year alone, they have built 17 new colonies. They did not ask for permission. They did not follow our laws. They simply took what they wanted." High Chancellor Mordeth nodded her massive head. She looked like a cross between a whale and a spider, with 12 arms and skin like black metal. "Worse than that," she rumbled. "They laugh at us. When we tell them to stop, they ignore us. When we threaten them, they make jokes." The other council members began talking at once. Their translator machines filled the air with angry voices in 100 different languages. "They mine asteroids without permits. They terraform planets in our territory. They refuse to pay tribute. They act like they own the galaxy." Zex Thul raised one crystal arm for silence. The chamber grew quiet. On the great screen in front of them, a recording began to play. It showed a human woman in a blue uniform. She had short gray hair and hard eyes. This was Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Fleet. "We have received your latest protest," the recording said. "Let me be very clear about something. We are not your subjects. We are not your pets. We are free people. And we will go wherever we please. If you don't like it, you and what army are going to stop us?" The recording ended. The silence in the chamber was thick enough to cut. "You and what army?" repeated Council Member Vashti. He was a tall, thin creature with 4 arms and no face. Just a voice that came from his chest. She actually said, "You and what army to us?" "The humans have no respect," added Councillor Thex. She was a floating ball of energy contained in a metal sphere. "They treat us like we are equals. Like we are nothing special." High Chancellor Mordeth slammed one of her arms on her desk. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. "For 10,000 years, we have brought peace to this galaxy. When a new species reaches the stars, they bow to us. They accept their place in the order of things. They become our clients. And we protect them." "The humans are different," said Zex Thul. "They have been in space for less than 200 years. They should be grateful that we allow them to exist at all. Instead, they act like they belong here." The council had tried everything with the humans. They had sent diplomatic messages. They had offered trade deals with terrible terms. They had even tried to scare them with shows of force. Nothing worked. The humans just kept spreading across the stars like weeds. They built their cities on dead worlds and made them green. They dug mines and asteroid belts that the council claimed. They sent their ships wherever they wanted to go. Worst of all, they were good at it. "Their technology is primitive," said Councillor Kexmar, a creature that looked like a tree made of metal. "Their ships are crude. Their weapons are simple. But somehow, they make them work better than they should. They fight among themselves constantly," added Vashti. "We have observed 47 wars on their homeworld in the past century. They seem to enjoy conflict." High Chancellor Mordeth nodded slowly. "This is why they must be stopped. A species that loves war cannot be allowed to spread across the galaxy. They will upset the peace we have worked so hard to build." The debate went on for hours. Some council members wanted to ignore the humans and hope they would learn their place eventually. Others suggested economic pressure or limited military action, but Zex Thul had a different idea. "We must send them an ultimatum," he said. "One final chance to submit to our authority. If they refuse, we destroy them completely. The other species will see what happens to those who defy us," added Mordeth. "It will be a lesson that lasts for 1,000 years." The vote was unanimous. All 12 council members agreed. The ultimatum was prepared with great care. It was written in every human language. It was sent to every human world at the same time. The message was simple and clear. To the species known as humanity, it began. You have violated galactic law. You have refused to accept council authority. You have 30 standard days to surrender your independence, dismantle your military forces, and accept client species status under council rule. If you refuse, the combined fleet will reduce your worlds to ash. This is your final warning. On Earth, President Martinez sat in the Situation Room deep under the capital city. Around her, the best minds of humanity watched the alien message on the main screen. Military leaders, scientists, diplomats, and intelligence officers all waited for her response. The silence stretched for a long minute after the message ended. Finally, President Martinez spoke. How long until our response is ready? Admiral Chen smiled. It was not a nice smile. We've been preparing for this since the day we met them, Madam President. Our fleets are in position. Our weapons are charged. Our people are ready. Good, said the President. Send our reply on every frequency these aliens use. Make sure the whole galaxy can hear it. The human response was broadcast across space on every communication channel the aliens had ever used. It reached every world, every ship, every listening post in the galaxy. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen. Behind her stood the flags of every human nation and colony. Her words were simple. Is that all you've got? Grand Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship and smiled. He was a member of the hegemony, a species that looked like walking sharks with 4 arms and steel teeth. Around him, his officers prepared for the easiest battle in galactic history. The human response had been exactly what they expected. Primitive creatures making big noises to hide their fear. Soon, they would learn what real power looked like. Report, Kethvar commanded. 10,000 ships ready for battle, sir, replied his aide, a nervous creature with too many eyes. 12 different species, all our best weapons. The largest fleet ever assembled. Kethvar nodded. The council had decided to make this war short and brutal. Crush the humans quickly. And no other species would dare rebel for 1,000 years. What do we know about human defenses? He asked. Very little, sir. Their ships use kinetic weapons mostly. Bullets and missiles. Primitive energy shields. Our intelligence says they have maybe 2,000 ships total, scattered across 50 star systems. The Admiral laughed. 2,000 ships against 10,000. Primitive weapons against advanced technology. This will be over in hours. He looked out at his fleet through the massive viewing window. Ships of every shape and size floated in perfect formation. Some looked like spears made of crystal. Others were vast spheres covered in weapon ports. A few resembled giant insects with metal wings. All of them were pointed at the Sol system, where Earth waited. Begin the jump, Kethvar ordered. Space twisted around them. Stars became lines of light. Reality bent and folded. Then, suddenly, they were there. The Sol system lay before them. A young yellow star with 9 planets orbiting it. The third planet was blue and green and white. Obviously where the humans lived. But something was wrong. Sir, called his sensor officer. I'm not reading any ships. Kethvar frowned. What do you mean? The system appears empty, sir. No fleet formations. No defensive positions. Just a single small ship near the asteroid belt. That made no sense. Where was the human fleet? Were they hiding behind their planet? Had they run away already? Open a channel to that ship, the Admiral ordered. The main screen flickered to life. A human woman appeared, sitting casually in what looked like a tiny bridge. She had dark skin and bright eyes, and was actually smiling. Welcome to Sol, she said in perfect galactic standard. I'm Captain Maria Santos, of the Earth frigate Defiant. Sorry about the welcoming committee being late. Mind waiting a few minutes for them to arrive? Kethvar stared at her. Are you insane? Do you see the size of my fleet? Captain Santos glanced at something off-screen. Oh yeah, 10,000 ships. Pretty impressive. Must have taken months to organize. We've been watching you gather them, by the way. Nice formations. Then you know you cannot win. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick." The human woman laughed. Actually laughed. "Death? Admiral, I think you misunderstand the situation. See, you made one tiny mistake." "What mistake?" Kethvar demanded. "You came to our house." Suddenly, space around the alien fleet erupted in light and fire. Ships appeared from everywhere at once. They rose from behind asteroids where they had been hiding. They emerged from the shadows of planets where sensors could not see them. They uncloaked from the darkness between worlds. But these were not the primitive human vessels the intelligence reports described. These ships moved like living things, turning and diving and spinning through space in ways that should have been impossible. "All ships, engage!" Kethvar screamed. The battle began. The alien fleet tried to form up into proper attack formations, but the humans would not fight properly. Their ships came from above and below and behind. They appeared where they should not be and vanished when the aliens tried to target them. Worse, human tactics made no sense. A human destroyer charged straight at a massive alien battleship 5 times its size. Instead of firing weapons, it simply rammed into the bigger ship at full speed. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire, but somehow more human ships appeared from the explosion, firing as they came. "How are they doing this?" Kethvar demanded. "Unknown, sir. Their ships are using some kind of stealth technology we've never seen. And their weapons." The sensor officer paused. "Sir, they're not using the weapons our intelligence said they had." On the screen, a human cruiser fired something that looked like a simple missile. But when it hit an alien dreadnought, the entire ship simply came apart like it was made of paper. "Impossible," Kethvar whispered. Captain Santos's voice came over the communications. She was still smiling, but now there was something cold in her eyes. "First rule of fighting humans, Admiral. We've already figured out how to kill you. We've been studying your ships for years, learning your weaknesses, building weapons specifically designed to punch through your shields and armor." A human fighter squadron dove through the middle of an alien formation, their ships moving in perfect coordination. Each fighter was smaller than an alien shuttle, but their weapons tore through the bigger ships like they were made of tin. "Second rule," Captain Santos continued. "We're absolutely crazy enough to do it." As if to prove her point, another human ship rammed an alien vessel. This time, the human crew was actually singing over the radio as they did it. Kethvar watched his perfect formation fall apart. His advanced ships were being destroyed by creatures who should not even have spaceflight yet. It was impossible. But it was happening. "Sir," called his communications officer. "The Second Fleet is requesting permission to retreat." "Retreat? We outnumber them 5 to 1. "Not anymore, sir. We've lost 3,000 ships. They've lost maybe 200. On the screen, Captain Santos was talking to someone off camera. She turned back to face the Admiral. "I'm getting word that you might want to leave now. My captain says the real fleet is about to arrive." "The real fleet?" Kethvar said. "This isn't your real fleet? This?" "Oh no, this is just the home guard. The actual Earth fleet is still coming back from maneuvers. Should be here in about 10 minutes. The Admiral looked out at the battle. His mighty armada was being torn apart by what humans considered their local militia. "All ships," he said quietly. "Begin retreat." "Sir?" asked his aide. "I said retreat. Get us out of here now." The jump drives engaged. Space twisted. The surviving alien ships fled into hyperspace, leaving behind the wreckage of their dreams of conquest. Captain Santos watched them go. She opened a channel to Earth Fleet Command. "This is Santos. The welcome party is over. I think they got the message." Admiral Chen's voice came back over the radio. "How many did we lose?" "About 200 ships, ma'am. They had some pretty good weapons after all." "And them?" Captain Santos looked at her sensors. "Roughly 3,000 ships destroyed, maybe another 1,000 damaged. Not bad for a warm-up." In the distance, Earth glowed blue and green in the light of its yellow sun. Around it, human ships moved like schools of metal fish, already beginning repairs and preparing for the next battle, because everyone knew this was just the beginning. High Chancellor Mordeth stared at the battle reports in disbelief. 3,000 ships lost, The greatest fleet in galactic history had been defeated by a species that still used chemical rockets to escape their own gravity well. "This makes no sense," she rumbled to the emergency council session. "Our technology is superior. Our numbers were overwhelming. How did they win?" Ambassador Zexthal's crystal form flickered with angry red light. "They cheated. They used tactics that violate every principle of civilized warfare. Ramming attacks," added Counselor Vashti. "Suicide runs. Weapons hidden in asteroids. They fight like animals, because that is what they are," Mordeth replied. "Animals, but animals can still be caged." The Council's new plan was simple. If they could not defeat humanity in open battle, they would starve them instead, cut off their trade routes, block their supply lines, force them to surrender when their colonies ran out of food and fuel. Operation Iron Ring began 3 weeks later. Siege fleets moved into position around every human system. These were not battle groups meant for quick strikes. They were massive formations designed to sit in space for years, blocking all movement in and out of human territory. Admiral Thexcol commanded the blockade from his flagship, a monster of a ship called the Eternal Patience. He was a member of the Dominion, a species that looked like walking trees made of metal. His people were known for their discipline and their ability to wait. "All fleets report ready," his aide informed him. 200 ships at each of the 47 human systems. Total blockade is in effect. Thexcol nodded his massive head. "Good. Now we wait. Humans are an emotional species. They will not have the patience for a long siege. Within 6 months, they will be begging for mercy." He was wrong. The first month passed quietly. Human ships tried to break through the blockade a few times, but the aliens drove them back easily. No major battles. No dramatic events. Just patient waiting. The second month was the same. The aliens settled into a routine. Patrol schedules. Supply runs. Regular communications with their home worlds. They were confident that hunger and desperation would soon force the humans to give up. Then ships started disappearing. It began with single vessels on patrol. A destroyer would head out to check an asteroid belt and simply never come back. When search teams went looking, they found nothing but debris. "Pirates, perhaps?" suggested Thexcol's aide. "What pirates would attack council ships?" the admiral replied. "Double the patrols, keep ships in groups." But the disappearances continued. Now, entire squadrons would go silent. 6 ships would head out together and vanish, without even sending a distress call. The search teams found wreckage, but it was strange wreckage. Ships torn apart by weapons that left no energy signatures. Crew compartments ripped open from the inside. The human ships must be using some new stealth technology, Thexcol decided. They are picking off isolated groups. But when he increased patrols and kept his ships closer together, it only got worse. The breakthrough came when Patrol Group 7 sent a partial message before going dark. The transmission was garbled, but the last words were clear. "They're everywhere. In the walls. In the..." Thexcol played the recording over and over, trying to understand what his people had seen before they died. 3 days later, he found out. The attack on his flagship came without warning. The Eternal Patience was surrounded by escort ships, sitting in the middle of the blockade formation. Every sensor was active. Every weapon was ready. Nothing should have been able to get close. The first sign of trouble was when the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing the bridge in red light. Then the gravity failed. Officers floated helplessly as alarms screamed throughout the ship. "Report!" Thexcol shouted. "Unknown, sir. All systems are failing at once. It's like something is inside our computer networks, tearing them apart from within." That was when the humans appeared. They came through the walls. Literally through the walls. Somehow, human soldiers in black armor had gotten inside the most secure ship in the fleet. They moved like shadows, carrying weapons that fired no energy beams but killed just as well. The battle for the ship was unlike anything in Thexcol's experience. These humans did not line up and fire in formation like civilized soldiers. They crawled through air vents. They hid in cargo holds. They struck from directions that should have been impossible and vanished before anyone could react. Worse, they seemed to enjoy it. Thex Cole found himself cornered on his own bridge, listening to human laughter echoing through the corridors as his crew was hunted down one by one. These creatures were not just fighting. They were having fun. The door to the bridge exploded inward. Human soldiers poured through the opening, moving with deadly grace. Their leader removed her helmet, revealing a woman with short blonde hair and cold blue eyes. "Admiral Thex Cole?" she asked politely. He nodded, unable to speak. "I'm Commander Sarah Mitchell, Earth Special Operations. I have a message for you from Admiral Chen." "What message?" he whispered. Commander Mitchell smiled. It was not a nice smile. "She wanted me to tell you that we've been fighting wars like this for thousands of years, while you were learning to live in peace under the Council. We were perfecting the art of making war. Guerrilla tactics, stealth operations, psychological warfare." She gestured to her soldiers, who were efficiently securing the bridge. "Did you really think a blockade would stop us? We've been breaking blockades since before we learned to fly." "But how?" Thex Cole asked. "How did you get aboard? Our sensors detected nothing." "Trade secret," Mitchell replied. "Let's just say that humans are very good at finding new ways to kill things, especially things that think they're safe." The commander activated a communication device. "This is Strike Team Alpha. Target secured. Ready for Phase 2. "What is Phase 2? Thex Cole demanded. Mitchell's smile grew wider. "We take your ship. Then we use it to attack your other ships. Then we take those ships too. By the time we're done, your blockade is going to belong to us." "Impossible. You are just one team." "Oh, Admiral," Mitchell laughed. "We're not just one team. There are teams like mine on every major ship in your fleet. We've been planning this for months. While you were sitting here thinking you had us trapped, we were busy turning your own blockade into our weapon." As if to prove her point, explosions began lighting up the space around them. One by one, the ships of the blockade fleet were being attacked from within. Some fought back briefly, others simply went dark as human boarding teams took control. Within 6 hours, half the blockade fleet belonged to humanity. Admiral Thex Cole sat in his own prison cell aboard his own ship, listening to human voices giving orders over his own communication system. Through the small window, he could see human flags flying from the ships that had once been his command. Commander Mitchell visited him once before the humans left. "Any message for your council?" she asked. Thex Cole thought for a long moment. Then he looked up at her with eyes full of something that might have been respect. "Tell them," he said quietly, "that they have awakened something that should have been left sleeping. Tell them that humans fight like demons, and demons do not know the meaning of surrender." Mitchell nodded. "I'll pass that along." The blockade collapsed within a week. The surviving alien ships fled to the outer edges of human space, too afraid to come closer. Behind them, human forces consolidated their captured vessels and began preparing for the next phase of the war. In her report to Earth Command, Admiral Chen wrote, "Enemy siege broken. Significant enemy assets captured. Recommend immediate advance to Phase 3. It's time to take this fight to them." The Council of 12 met an emergency session for the 3rd time in 6 months. The Great Chamber felt different now. The confident voices were gone. The easy arrogance had vanished. Fear hung in the air like smoke. High Chancellor Mordeth looked around the table at her fellow council members. Half of them appeared only as holograms now, too afraid to travel to Concordia Prime in person. The others sat in nervous silence, their various forms twitching with anxiety. "The situation is unacceptable," she announced. "These humans have made fools of us. Our fleets are destroyed. Our blockade is broken. We are the laughingstock of the galaxy." Ambassador Zexthal's crystal form pulsed with angry red light. "The other client species are beginning to ask questions. Some have even stopped sending tribute. If we appear weak, the entire galactic order will collapse." "Then we must not appear weak," rumbled Councillor Kexmar. "It is time to use the ultimate weapons." A hush fell over the chamber. The ultimate weapons had been built during the last Great War, 10,000 years ago. Planet killers, Reality bombs. Weapons so terrible that their very existence was kept secret from most of the galaxy. The nanoplague bombs, whispered Counselor Thex. They could sterilize every human world in hours. The quantum destroyers, added Vashti. One shot can collapse a star. Mordeth raised one massive arm. The Council authorizes the use of ultimate weapons against the human species. End this war. End them. The first target was New Geneva, a human farming world 50 light-years from Earth. Home to 50 million colonists, it was one of humanity's most important agricultural centers. The perfect place to send a message. The weapon ship arrived 3 days later. It was a massive vessel, black as space itself, carrying a single planet-killer cannon that could crack a world in half. Captain Vex Thul of the Hegemony commanded the mission personally. Begin charging sequence, he ordered. The weapon came to life slowly. Energy gathered in the ship's core, building to levels that could destroy a continent. On the main screen, New Geneva hung in space like a blue-green jewel, unaware of its coming doom. Weapon charged and ready, reported the gunner. Fire. The beam lanced out across space, a spear of pure destruction aimed at the heart of the human world. For a moment, Captain Vex Thul smiled. The humans would finally learn what real power looked like. Then the impossible happened. The beam hit some kind of barrier around the planet and scattered harmlessly into space like light hitting a mirror. Impossible. No known technology could deflect a planet-killer weapon. What just happened? Vex Thul demanded. Unknown, sir. The beam was deflected by some kind of energy field around the target. That was when space around the weapon ship erupted with human vessels. But these were not the same ships that had fought the Council fleet months before. These were monsters. Huge vessels that seemed to be built from alien technology, but improved somehow. Enhanced. Made better. The lead ship opened communications. A human woman appeared on screen, wearing an admiral's uniform. She had gray hair and the coldest eyes Vex Thul had ever seen. I am Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Earth Defense Force ship Defiance, she said calmly. You just tried to murder 50 million civilians. That was a mistake. Impossible, Vex Thul replied. Your technology cannot stop our ultimate weapons. Admiral Vasquez smiled. You're right. Our old technology couldn't. But see, we've been busy this past year. While you were planning your little siege, we were taking apart every piece of alien tech we could get our hands on. Learning how it worked. Making it better. The human ships moved closer. Vex Thul could see now that they were built from pieces of a dozen different alien designs, but somehow combined into something new. Something more dangerous. We've had teams of scientists working around the clock, Vasquez continued. Reverse engineering your shields, improving your weapons, taking your computers and making them think like humans. Which, as it turns out, makes them much more effective. The Defiance fired a single shot. The beam that emerged was clearly based on alien technology, but it cut through the weapon ship's shields like they weren't even there. Alarms screamed across the bridge as systems failed throughout the vessel. But how? Vex Thul whispered. You want to know the funny thing? Admiral Vasquez asked. Your weapons are actually pretty good. Your shields work fine. Your computers are sophisticated. The problem is, they're designed by species that have been at peace for thousands of years. You've forgotten how to make things that are designed specifically to kill other things. Another human ship fired. This time, the weapons seemed to phase through the alien ship's armor entirely, tearing apart the internal systems while leaving the hull intact. We haven't forgotten, Vasquez said. We've never stopped learning new ways to break things. And now we have your technology to work with. The combination is effective. The weapon ship was crippled now, floating helplessly as human ships surrounded it. But Vex Thul could see more alien vessels approaching in the distance. Reinforcements from the Council fleet. You are outnumbered, he said. Are we? Vasquez looked at something off-screen. Computer? Show the captain what he's really facing. Butter. The space around New Geneva suddenly lit up with contacts. Hundreds of human ships decloaked at once. emerging from hiding spots throughout the system. But more than that, the ships themselves were wrong somehow. They moved too smoothly, turned too quickly, responded too fast. Artificial intelligence, Vasquez explained. Another thing you gave up long ago. Too dangerous, you said. Might rebel against its creators. But we figured out how to make AI that thinks like humans. And humans, as you've learned, are very good at war. The battle that followed was not really a battle at all. It was a demonstration. The alien reinforcements arrived, expecting to face the same primitive human ships they had fought before. Instead, they encountered vessels that outgunned them, outmaneuvered them, and outthought them at every turn. Human ships danced through space like living things, their AI minds processing thousands of tactical decisions every second. Weapons fired with impossible accuracy. Shields adapted instantly to new types of attack. Entire alien squadrons were disabled or destroyed before they could even return fire. Within 2 hours, the Council fleet was completely defeated. Some ships were captured intact. Others were reduced to wreckage. A few escaped to carry word of their defeat back to the Council. Admiral Vasquez opened a channel to broadcast across the entire galaxy. This is Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Earth Defense Force. Let me make something very clear to the Galactic Council and anyone else who might be listening. You wanted war. Congratulations. You found one. Her image appeared on screens throughout Council space, in government buildings and military headquarters on 1,000 different worlds. But here's the thing about humans that you never understood. We don't just fight wars. We win them. Completely. Absolutely. Forever. The transmission continued as human fleets appeared simultaneously at 12 different Council worlds. Not to attack the planets, but to prove a point. You have been playing at war for so long that you forgot what real war looks like. You forgot what happens when someone fights not just to win, but to survive. When someone fights not just for territory or resources, but for the right to exist as free beings. On the screen behind her, the new human ships moved in perfect formation, their alien-derived weapons powered up and ready. We gave you every chance to leave us alone. We offered to coexist peacefully. We even tried to be polite about it. But you insisted on this path. You declared war on humanity. So now you get to see what war with humanity actually means. The Admiral's expression grew cold as winter. You have 48 hours to surrender unconditionally. Every fleet, every weapon, every ship. Or we will demonstrate why Earth is the only planet in this galaxy where the dominant species named itself after the ancient word for war. The transmission ended. Across Council space, alien leaders stared at their screens in growing terror. The humans had not just defeated their ultimate weapons, they had turned their own technology against them, and somewhere in the back of every alien mind was the same terrible thought. If this is what humans could do with captured technology in just 1 year, what could they do with a century? The war was about to end, but not the way anyone had expected. The great chamber of Concordia Prime had never been so quiet. The 12 seats around the circular table sat empty, except for 5. 7 council members had already fled to the far reaches of the galaxy, hoping distance would protect them from human revenge. High Chancellor Mordeth looked at the few who remained. Ambassador Zex Thul's crystal form had lost its inner light and sat dim and lifeless. Councillor Vashti had not spoken in hours. The others simply stared at the table, waiting for the end. The fleets? Mordeth asked quietly. Gone, replied Councillor Thex, her energy form flickering weakly. 17 battle groups have surrendered without firing a shot. The rest have defected to the humans. Rather than fight them, they have joined them. The news was worse than total defeat. It meant that their own people had looked at this war and decided that humanity offered a better future than the Council did. Time remaining? Zex Thul finally spoke, his voice like breaking glass. 6 hours until their deadline expires. Through the great windows of the chamber, they could see human ships surrounding the station. Not attacking. Not threatening. Simply waiting. The patience of predators who knew their prey had nowhere to run. What do they want from us? Vashti asked. Before anyone could answer, the chamber's communication system activated. A hologram appeared in the center of the table. Admiral Sarah Chen materialized as if she were standing in the room with them, wearing a simple blue uniform with silver stars on her shoulders. "Good morning," she said politely. "I'm Admiral Chen, representing the United Worlds of Humanity. I believe you have something to tell us." Mordeth drew herself up to her full height. Even in defeat, she would maintain some dignity. "The Galactic Council surrenders unconditionally to the human forces." Admiral Chen nodded. "Thank you. That saves us all a lot of trouble." "What are your terms?" Zexthal asked. The Admiral smiled. It was not the cruel smile the council members expected. It was almost friendly. "I think you misunderstand the situation. We're not here to dictate terms to you. We're here to fix things." "Fix things?" "The council system," Chen explained. 12 species ruling over hundreds of others. Client races forced to give tribute to their protectors. Entire civilizations treated like children who need to be managed by their betters. It's going to stop. Mordeth felt a chill run through her massive form. "You intend to rule the galaxy yourself." "Rule the galaxy?" Admiral Chen laughed. "We don't want to rule anything. We just fought a war to avoid being ruled by you. Why would we turn around and do the same thing to others?" The hologram gestured, and new images appeared around the chamber. Ships arriving at Council worlds. But they were not invasion fleets. They were construction vessels, medical ships, supply transports. "Here's what's going to happen," Chen continued. "The Council is dissolved as of right now. Every client species becomes an independent government. They can choose their own leaders, make their own laws, and control their own resources." "Impossible," Vashti protested. "The client species are not ready for independence. They need guidance." "Protection. From who?" Chen asked. "The only threat to galactic peace for the past 1,000 years has been the Council itself. You've kept entire civilizations as slaves and called it protection." The images changed to show human diplomats meeting with representatives of dozens of different species. Creatures that had been client races for centuries were sitting down as equals with their former masters. "The Zephyrians are already forming their own government," Chen explained. "The Altarians have elected a president. The Vegan Trade Union has opened relations with 17 neighboring systems. Turns out, most species are perfectly capable of running their own affairs when given the chance." "And the Council worlds?" Mordeth asked quietly. "You get independence too. No more ruling over others, but also no more being responsible for managing half the galaxy. You can focus on your own people for the first time in millennia." Counselor Thex flickered brightly for a moment. "You would grant freedom to your enemies?" Admiral Chen's expression grew serious. "You were never our enemies. You were just people who had been in power so long that you forgot what freedom meant. The real enemy was the system you built. The idea that some species are naturally superior to others. The belief that peace can only exist when someone is in charge of everyone else." The hologram changed again, showing the construction of something massive in space. A new station, even larger than Concordia Prime, but built differently. Instead of a palace for rulers, it looked like a meeting place. "Liberty Station," Chen explained. "A neutral ground where every species can send representatives. Not to rule over others, but to work together as equals. To trade freely. To share knowledge. To solve problems without anyone having to bow to anyone else." "And if we refuse?" Zexthal asked. Chen shrugged. "Then you refuse. We're not going to force you to be free. But the old system is gone. If you want to trade with other worlds, if you want to travel between systems, if you want to participate in galactic civilization, it will be on equal terms with everyone else." Mordeth stared at the human admiral. This was not how conquest was supposed to work. Victors were supposed to demand tribute, territory, submission. They were supposed to replace the old rulers with new ones. "Why?" she asked. "You have the power to control everything. Why give it away?" Admiral Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, Her voice was soft but firm. Because we remember what it's like to be controlled by someone else. We remember what it feels like to be told that we're not good enough to make our own decisions. We remember the anger, the frustration, the dreams of freedom. The hologram flickered as Chen looked directly at each council member in turn. We didn't fight this war to become the new overlords. We fought it because we were tired of being told what to do by bullies. And if we turned around and became bullies ourselves, then what was the point? The communication ended. The hologram vanished. The council members sat in silence, trying to understand what had just happened to them. Outside the windows, human ships were already withdrawing. Construction vessels moved in to begin converting Concordia Prime into the first embassy complex where former enemies could meet as equals. 6 months later, High Chancellor Mordeth sat in a small office on her home world, working on trade agreements with 3 neighboring systems. For the first time in her long life, she was not responsible for the fate of billions of beings across dozens of star systems. It was, she admitted to herself, actually quite peaceful. The news reports from across the galaxy were always interesting now. The Zephyrian Republic had invented a new type of faster-than-light communication. The Altarian Federation was terraforming their first colony world. The Vegan Trade Union had established the largest interstellar shipping network in galactic history. And humanity continued exploring, building, and trading with anyone who wanted to trade with them. The galaxy was busier than it had ever been. Ships traveled freely between systems that had been separated by council law for centuries. New technologies were shared openly, instead of being hoarded by the ruling species. Wars still happened, but they were small conflicts between neighbors, not galactic campaigns of conquest. The human embassy sent regular updates to all former council worlds. Always polite. Always friendly. Always ending with the same message. The galaxy belongs to all who call it home. And it's protected by those who remember what freedom costs. Ambassador Zex Thul, now representing his people in the new Galactic Assembly, often found himself working alongside humans on various trade disputes and diplomatic problems. They were, he had to admit, surprisingly good at finding solutions that everyone could live with. One day, a young hegemony warrior asked him what it had been like to fight humanity. Zexthul thought for a long moment before answering. "We thought we were fighting primitives," he said finally. "Crude creatures who needed to be taught their place. But we were wrong. We were the primitives. We had forgotten the most important lesson in the galaxy. That true strength comes not from the power to control others, but from the wisdom to know when not to use that power. And the humans?" "The humans," Zexthul replied, remembered. In the depths of space, Earth continued its slow rotation around a yellow star. The blue planet looked peaceful from orbit, but its people remained ready. Ready to explore. Ready to build. Ready to defend the freedom they had won. And if anyone, anywhere in the galaxy, ever forgot the lesson of the Council War, humanity would be waiting with the same question that had started it all. "Is that all you've got?"